Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for the next episode. My name is Anna. I'll be your producer for this session. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenter to answer live. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speaker for today. Ari, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Anna. This is awesome. I'm so happy to be with all of you here. We're going to get into a really cool topic. This is about agentic workflows. I'll do just some informational stuff. By the way, my name is Ari Levigny. I am a senior learning advocate with GitHub. I'm going to walk through just at a very high level on some slides, not too much slide work. We're going to get right into some a GitHub skill that I created around agentic workflows to show you how it works and get into the details. So with that, let's get into the slides. Also, if you have questions, I'll try to answer them. I do have the chat open. So as we know, right, like automation, GitHub Actions, a lot of the stuff that we do that's very deterministic, it's very rigid. It's very much, you have to specify, it's very error prone. It's, there's not a lot of flexibility there. Well, then here comes like that next evolution of what we can do with automation by using agents. And that's where agentic workflows comes in, and we can use Copilot, Claude, Codex, whatever, LLMs or other, maybe you want to bring your own key, you can use that here in this environment. And the results are that what we like to call continuous AI, where we can build upon that. We can describe a workflow. As we look at this left side, it's deterministic side of the logic model. It's very rigid, step scripts, YAML. You have to understand that. A lot of people don't want to dig into YAML or the specific syntax. And this is where agents are a huge help to kind of abstract that out from us. And then we can tell it in natural language, Markdown, what we want. Markdown is basically natural language, but we don't even have to create. I'm going to show you, we don't even have to create the actual Markdown. We can have the agent do that for us. We're just giving it some information. To where it reasons, the execution also, it can keep going. You can specify that you want a report for your repository, and it really maintains your code base and does all of those tedious toil tasks that you don't want to do by using agentic workflows. So think about, these are kind of the three pillars. We have the Markdown based workflows. We compile those using the agentic agent, and it is an agent that runs, and I'll show you how we install that and get set up. And then we get into the AI-powered decision-making, where it makes some judgments based on what we are telling it in natural language, what we want. Deep ecosystem, there's a lot of samples out there. I'm going to share some sites with you as well. In fact, what I'll do now is I'm going to share this blog. This is a great blog about agentic workflow. So I'll just get that out of the way and share that with you now in the stream, in the YouTube. And then also I'm going to share the site here, which is a really good, it's so robust what they've done here. Pelly and the team of what they've developed for agentic workflows and showing samples and how to use them and leverage them. So I want to share those right off the bat so people can take those afterwards and dig into them and test and play around, besides the skill that I'll also share with you. The other part of this is what's great about it is secure. Like, obviously, we don't want to let agents run wild in our code base, do things hallucinate and do some, delete our code base or do some crazy things like that. So the core challenge of that is like, how do we secure the environment? And really what the Agentic Workflows team has created is like a true gated job that decides what's allowed. and then the agent can observe your repository, but it cannot directly change it. A sandbox is basically an environment where it's kind of sealed off, so it can't do anything. So like it has one way in, one way out, like a door that we go into, and in that environment is completely gated. Just like it's kind of its general definition of what sandbox is in that case. And here's kind of the 5 layers of security that you should be aware of and like how it's protected. I'm not going to read every one of these. You can see what's on the screen, but 0 secrets in the agent, not allowed, network firewalls, read-only tokens, the threat detection, and these 5 layers. But the 5th one's here twice, but I think because there's a little bit more about it, that's why it's there twice. But the malicious code, can be prevented before any kind of commit. And what we're going to walk through here, let's move into really the practice. So I don't want to take too much time on the slides, like I said, but, we'll go into this where we are going to generate, we're going to install agentic workflows, the blueprint. We have like a website that I've created for Moda. We want to do updates. My website is to update, and I'm taking the persona of Mona as a developer, that I want to always keep up to date with what new things are coming on the GitHub platform through blogs, change logs, and maybe we'll add some more sources as well. That's part of this as well. So, and then the agent will kind of mesh all that together and create a pull request that maybe we want to update our nice site that we've created that keeps everyone up to date on what Mona's doing. We'll initialize the repository. We will author, and then we will step execution through this. We'll trigger. It's a containerized execution, the artifact generation, and then the handoff for the pull request. And then at that point, as a human, I can look at that pull request and decide, do I want to accept this? Do I want to iterate with Copilot on that? Do I want to tweak my agentic workflow to maybe be more specific in certain areas in my natural language? Just like when you are prompting any AI, you're trying to give it as much context to kind of create guardrails and boundaries for it. Again, though, it's human reviewed. So that's what's great about this, that you can have do this on a schedule. You could do it on demand. For example, for my team, we have weekly snippets that we create. And, on a month or a quarterly basis, maybe you want to roll those up and just automatically do it. I created an agentic workflow that does that, and then automatically creates an issue that has all of those reports and kind of emphasize what the big things happened in the last month or the last quarter. Like that's an example of one of these. We're also going to get into this one, which is about updating a website that pulls the latest and greatest from GitHub blogs, changelog, and maybe something else, which I'll share with you guys later. And this is kind of the loop: author, optimizing, execute, review, and that kind of, that continuous AI kind of infinity loop there. That's my slides. I will go back to the beginning. So I have this repo here. I will share this with folks now. I'll probably also do it at the end just so people get it. But this is a nice GitHub skill I created. It is still a work in progress, but it does do what we want to do here. I'm actually going to be sharing this with some of my teammates to review. But like with all of our GitHub skills that I've done on these sessions before, what's great about it is you can copy it to your handle. I obviously already created one here, so I'm going to actually call this one Reactor. So it's brand new repo. You must, as you may have noticed here, make this public. And I'll tell you why. We're going to have a token that we need to use that's going to be, that needs Copilot request read access, and that's only on public repositories currently. So we'll go create the repository. That will run. There's an action that runs in the background. So this looks exactly the same as, the one that we came from, but you can see it has my handle in the name, and it has the name that I specified here, the Reactor name. We'll refresh, see if we're ready to go. try again, reload. And now we are now ready to start this exercise. So we're in our repo. Now we can click the go to exercise, which opens up a nice issue-based, self-paced GitHub skill that I can walk through. It has a nice, every section, every step has a theory about what it's going to accomplish. And then what we'll do is we're going to create a code space here where we can do our development. This is just like VS Code. You can see my dog in the background as well, everyone. I don't know if you guys have your dogs with you, but he's with me all the time when I'm doing work. But while this code space is coming up, this should look very familiar as well. If you're using VS Code, it should look pretty normal to everyone. And while that's coming up, I can also look at some of the others. So some of the other things when this comes up that we're going to do is we're going to run the website locally in that code space. So we'll do that. And we're also going to install the agentic workflows. And this is how easy it is to get it in your environment to install it and run it. Some things that you'll have to create is that token that will be used. So that's a personal fine-grained token. And I did include, this is kind of what it looks like. The screenshots are a little small, but if we go to this link here, I'll just open this up. Oh, I just gotta and put my code in. And what this does is it already kind of pre-formats for your environment. Obviously, this is mine. I already have a token with this name, but I called it, this is the name that you want to use. Gives a nice description here already for you. Again, it's set for public repositories. And then the Copilot request is what you want, and you want it to be read-only. So that's the settings that you want. If we were, read-only is the only option anyway, but that shows you how to create it. There's also, when this comes up, I want to point out a couple things. I do have to add some notes, but you do want to click allow here. I also personally like to sync my settings for VS Code, just so I have exactly what I'm set up as and I'm signed in. I can now close this window. And now it'll just refresh the code space for us. I'm going to bring this over to show some things. So as you can see, it's still coming up. Yeah, let me just give it a minute. It's still opening up, so that's okay. It's still kind of doing its run, its startup. What I can show you in one that I already have, while that's, I already baked the cake for you folks. But as you saw too, when you come up, right, this agentic workflow agent is not installed, and we're going to install that. And I'm using some models here. This is the normal Copilot chat panel that you see in VS Code. So now we seem to have everything up and running. We're ready to go. I now prefer to use the Copilot CLI. I'm going to use a bit of both the terminal and inline Copilot inside of the terminal. I'm just now kind of using that as my one interface. But by all means, if you decide you would like to use the channel, the chat panel, that's fine. But as you can see here, right, we don't have the agent. We just set this up. We don't have the agent installed yet. Everything else kind of looks the same. I'll use 5.5 for now. And then, so if I come back here, we were going to also start our website. So let's do that. Just going to run in the background, and then it will give us a pointer. It also will open up a simple browser tab here that shows us what the website initially looks like and where it's at. Yeah, it should be coming up. Any questions? No. And this is basically like my website I already pre-populated with some information. I have some, cool little things with Ducky and Mona, little pictures and things that I threw in there. And the last update that I did for this was a changelog based on March 17th, when I initially kind of started creating this exercise and Mona's nice little GitHub update website. So that's what that's showing. I'll also take this. I like to put this to the side so it's kind of out of my way and not crowding the space. I'll also increase the size a little bit so people can see Let's make it one bigger, and I'm going to move this panel over now, give myself some more real estate. And let's go to our terminal, put this in the front, put this in the back. So now we're here in our terminal. We're ready now maybe to do our next step in the exercise here. So we want to install Agentic Workflows. So I'll come into the terminal and I will always click allow here. It's just asking you about copying, pasting in your code space. It's kind of a normal thing that it does. So now we have the latest version of GitHub Agentic Workflows. This can also be run. This is an extension to the his name's Leo. Yeah, and he's a husky white shepherd mix. And he's a smart but stubborn dog. But thanks for the question. And then now you have his name, so you don't say hello, dog. But this is the latest version. You can have Agentic Workflows that is a GitHub command line extension as well. You can install it that way. I just did it this way. And now, sorry, let me put this. It's not there yet. But then as we do our initialization, we're going to install and set up this repository for that. So we'll go back to our exercise. Now what we want to do also, we created the fine-grained token. We showed what that looks like. Now we also need to now add that token to our repository. And this kind of shows, you go to secrets and variables in your settings, go to actions, create a new repo secret, and then you add the name, which is GitHub Copilot token, or sorry, Copilot GitHub token, my bad. And then you put the token in there. I'm going to do that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this page here, and I'll just walk you through what that looks like. So we have the settings. I go to secrets and variables. I go to actions, and then I can set my variable up. What I'm going to do, so you guys can't see my token, is when I get to that part, I will pull that off of this window here real briefly, and then just set that up. And that's the name. And then I'll pull this here, and I'm just going to grab, let me just put this up here, and I'm just going to grab my token that I already have, that I've created in my personal account, my fine-grained token with that one Copilot request access. And that's really all you need for that. There is I'll bring that window back now because I already did that step. So no harm, no foul there. The next step we're going to want to do, another thing you want to set up, is the ability for your actions to be able to run to create the pull request. And that's another setting here, again, in settings of your repo. So we're in our repo for Reactor. We go to actions, we go to general, and then we come to the bottom, and then we select read and write permissions, and then say allow GitHub Actions to create and approve pull requests. That's extra. I like doing it just in this play repo that we're doing this exercise in. I think you can leave that one out, but you definitely have to select this. Now that that's set, I'll just go here. And then now we have basically our system primed. We're ready to start using these. And now what we want to do is the command line for GitHub Agentic Workflows is pretty powerful. I'm going to show you, I'm going to close this and get a little bit more real estate. But if we were to do just this, you can kind of see all of the things that you can, I didn't do, wait, did I do it? Audit. AW. I should have just done help. My bad. I think it's help. For more, get a command, more information about a command. So let's just do the command, and then we'll see. I thought it should do a help, or maybe it's, that's what it was. That's what I was looking for. My bad. We're doing it for the init, but I wanted to show you all the options that can come with that. You can decide not to install the MCP server. You can install the full environment in this code space. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to modify my code space, but you could do that. completions for shell completions, and then automatically creating the pull request that has all of the agentic features that you need to run for your repo. What we're going to do. And I'm also going to add the completions part as well. You can also do some more, if you want more verbosity, banners and things like that as well. So we'll do that. And what that's going to do for me is it's going to automatically add the files that are necessary. It's going to create a PR for me. It's going to create a branch for me automatically. And now if we go back to where we had pull requests, even though it's asking me to compare, if I actually just do a reload here, refresh, we'll see that it already created the PR for me, and it already has all of the things that I need to use agentic workflows inside my repo now. I have this agent that's added. So that's under the .github directory. I have also workflows for Copilot setup steps if I need those, the MCP server, and then this Git attributes, for the lock files. As you'll see, when we create these Markdown files, we have to compile them, and that creates these lock files that are really the magic behind that run in the actions and in that kind of guarded sandbox space. On editor startup, I use Copilot for React. How can agentic workflows help automate testing deployment for a solo founder? If you're using Actions today, that's a great question. If you're using Actions today, this is kind of Actions on steroids, I would say. It's really taking your agents and letting it do the work for you. So maybe you want to create CI/CD that runs at a certain time. You can use agentic workflows to set those jobs up. If you go to the link that was at the beginning, and I'll also copy it again, there are samples that talk about CI/CD. This is what this is about. So this would help you in your testing. Maybe you want to just use regular Copilot or the regular agent to create your tests, and with a certain model, that's fine. But then this will help you with that automation piece and keeping your repo healthy and not stale or as new. What it will do is, let's say you made changes, last night, and you have your agentic workflow run. It may find and say, well, I found that you're missing some tests for this new code that you added. Here's a PR that I created that has those tests in, and you can review it, have your peers review it, and then merge that. So as a single, solo developer, it takes a lot of that toil out of your day-to-day. Obviously CI/CD, we always strive to put those tests in, but let's be honest, right? It's a lot of extra overhead besides the development part. I mean, even with test-driven development, putting the pipes together for the CI/CD to run those tests can be sometimes daunting or become a little bit of extra work to do. And we have only so many hours in a day, right? So I think this is where agentic workflows would help you. So we have this ready to go. Obviously, we could have Copilot review it, but I'm not going to do that. I just kind of want to move along just for the sake of time. And really, there's nothing for Copilot to review. This is a standard install that agentic workflows does anyway. It's doing what it's supposed to. We really don't need a peer review on this pull request. So our pull request is merged. We can go back to our exercise now. And as you can see, our little automation action that runs in the background checks that we installed all of the components that we need for agentic workflows in our repository: the MCP server, the Copilot setup, the lock file, the attributes, and so on. And now we're going to get into more of like, okay, let's now start using these workflows and how we can leverage them. So first, I'm going to have Copilot. I'm going to ask this on the command line too. And if I look here, I hope it is here. Let me do a refresh. Just do a sync here. I should see, there it is. So once I pulled down the changes that we just installed from that pull request, as you can see now, we have the agent workflows as our agent to work with us on that. And I'm going to show how we're going to use that. In fact, that's also why I'm sticking with the CLI here for other stuff, because I just want the panel to show how I'm using that agent. So now that we have that, I'll open up an inline with Command. I'm on a Mac, so I'm Command I. If you're on a Windows machine, it's Control I. And I'm going to say, oh, that's a stale paste. Let me paste what is in the actual here. And you can just copy that, like in the when you guys do the exercise, you can do that. Oh, it's not interesting. Just in case, I'll copy it that way. There we go. Named. Oh, maybe that was what I was doing, and I just was date site latest and include at least one Codespaces. Yeah, that's not. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, it is the right. I just was not reading to the top. There we go. So we'll have Copilot make those changes for us. If we look over here, thought that was stale. It was not. So that's good. We're also going to run this. So I'm going to have Copilot run it. You can also obviously do automatic execution if you wanted to. But so now we have kind of a content where we maybe want to update and add things to. I added this to the file called latest GitHub updates. This is where our website's going to pull from. We already have lists of here for our, our sources that we're using. But we can add more of those as well. Okay, so that's good. And now we can come back here. Yeah, you can always do there's some tips in there too. I already showed you here that the Agentic Workflows is installed to set up CD for a React Node.js app. You can use these Agentic Workflows to do that if you want to. You could also just use an agent, the regular agent or agent mode, and work through it yourself. But that's probably the fastest way. Agentic Workflows may be more robust because it'll tie into maybe some schedules around your CI/CD, but you could create those straight with agent mode too. Let's see. So this now is what I want to use with the agentic workflow agent. So I'm going to copy this. I'll come back to my, and let me just kind of push this over a bit. We also did put this on a new branch, I believe, the create Mona update. I think it's called Mona updater. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question on the CI/CD, React, and Node.js. I mean, you could ask Copilot to do all of that. Really, you could use the agentic workflow as well. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to stick with the model. Now I'm going to select my agent, and then I'm going to basically put what I want in there, which let's talk about that. So I want to create this workflow. I kind of came up with the name just for this exercise so it doesn't go and create its own. As an agentic workflow markdown file, run the workflow daily or on demand, which means using the workflow dispatch. Even if I didn't put workflow dispatch in there, it would know what on demand means. Give the workflow edit access through tools, configuration, use the safe outputs with the pull request. So that's what that sandbox or that gated environment, so that it doesn't do anything that would impact our repo or delete code or do something crazy like that. We're also asking it to web fetch these locations, which is the blog, latest things coming from the GitHub blog, as well as the change log that you can also, there's RSS feeds for that as well. And then update my MD file with those changes, and then generate a pull request for me with a certain title. I specifically asked for it not to compile because I want to do that on the command line and show you what that looks like. And then I'll just let it go. And then it should go and create that for me. So as you see, it's even responding and say it's only going to create that workflow file. It's not going to do anything else or instruct anything else. So let's see what happens there. Have any feedback for us? Yeah. Let's see. it's doing that. Yeah, okay. Let's do its thing. And again, I didn't even give it Markdown. I gave it really just plain natural language, and I want it to create the Markdown for me. That's also a part of this exercise too. Yeah, I want to skip that. I don't want to do that. Here we go. So it's looking through the examples. There's none in our repo. It's looking actually at my steps for this exercise. It's looking through those files. Now it should be creating the file. And we can see, we'll open up that file too there. It created it. And we should be wrapping this up. When you compile is when we create that lock file. So we'll see what that looks like too. It also creates an action file, lock file as well. So we did that. So now if we open up this file, what you're used to doing in Actions is that you have to write all the YAML for your CI/CD, right? I guess you can use Copilot and have it generate it for you and iterate on that and iterate on and iterate on it. This simplifies a lot of that. There's some front matter that was generated automatically from basically what I gave it here as directions, and this could be longer. But given that context, it went and created what's called front matter. You probably have heard of that if you use Markdown. And Agentic Workflows uses this front matter to basically guide it on what it needs to do. So we came up with a schedule. It put the workflow dispatch in here. The name of it, description of what it's doing. Also the safe outputs that we're going to create a pull request. We're going to have a title like that in it. It's going to be a prefix for it. It'll be a draft as true. We can make that false if we could have put that in our natural language if we wanted to. I also said, don't fall back as an issue. I really do want to create a pull request for this, but you could also set that to true if you wanted to. That could be in your natural language. It tells us the networks it's allowed to go to find out, which is the github.com and github.blog domains. And we're doing an edit and a fetch. These are the tools. There may be more tools that you want to use. And the way you describe your natural language will probably generate those. Or if you know them up front, you can also play around and add the tool accordingly. Now we get to the point of where we have the basic markdown of use these sources for Mona's notes. So I have a Mona's notes in here. So if I ever decide as Mona, I have an update that's not on the blog yet, or it's not here, but I want to put it in there, I can use that as a source, and I have my notes that I put in there. Or I can go to the blog or the change log. I will update the contents of the site, and I will open a pull request for review with create pull request. Very basic, and there's not a lot here, right? Now, obviously, as we create this lock file, that's going to be a lot larger, but we're less concerned about that. We're more interested in how brief and concise this is and gets to the point of what we want to accomplish in a markdown file. And that's what's pretty cool about this. So now I'm happy with that. But what I want to do next is I'm going to want in the terminal, I'm going to do a compile. We could have had Copilot do that for us. By all means, I like to control this a little bit, and I like to use the terminal more anyway myself. So I'm going to now point to the markdown file that was created by the agent, by the Agentic Workflows agent, and I'm going to compile it. And then what we're going to see is it's going to look through our agent and it's going to say, okay, if there were syntax or things there that were not right, it would come back. I've had that happen where things are not like one of mine that I used with an older model, a 4.1 model. Obviously, we've come a long way with our models. Did triggers instead of on. The task you sent me before is absolutely fine to use as a first task. I would just play around and start using it. But yeah, if you're building a Node.js React site and you want to add, if you already have the site, ask it how to build CI/CD or how to build tests for this. The Copilot is very good at doing that. Whatever model you're using, the zero, token ones, or, obviously everyone knows we've moved to usage-based billing. So there's more kind of costs associated with premium requests, or I should say with models that are a little bit, newer and more robust. But that's par for the course. You'll find that across any Anthropic or Codex or, OpenAI or Gemini and so on and so forth. So we compiled that and it created this actions, which is really just an indication to use GitHub script. And that's only the initial time that you create that workflow that it will add that for the first one. And then I believe you'll no longer see that again, or you shouldn't see an update to that unless maybe it's updating the version, I guess. Probably this version may get updated as part of the mechanics of agentic workflows. And then we have this lock file, which is like agentic workflows. And oh my God, it's all of this stuff. So all of this, which is not really human readable, but the agent understands what this means. And that's really what is important here to know what it needs to do. So we care really less about that. We really care about our nice little succinct, updater, which is the agentic workflow that we look at that's human readable. And that's more interesting to us. So we will, we're ready to know. I believe we're ready. I don't want to jump far ahead of my, I could have the agent, I could have Copilot do the pull request and do that for me. To sake of time, I want to leave time for anything else or questions that come up. But I'll just do that myself. Let's see. This is taking a while. The AI is thinking. Is there anyone else, new questions from somebody else that we could take, or anyone know about agentic workflows that I have not specifically mentioned yet? Let's see. Why is this hanging? That's all right. We'll just I'm going to refresh my screen and we'll see what comes up. And I'll close this file. Here we go. I think let me pull this down. We're already checked in. Let's try again. Hopefully this gives us a nice little, I could write my own commit message, but I've gotten so used to using Copilot for my commit messages. There's really no difference. I am using, obviously this is under my handle, but I could take this exercise or use agentic workflows in an organization's repository. It's exactly the same. You may have more restrictions for that repo, what access you have to create, to set those settings or those secrets or things like that. You may have to go to an admin to do that. But obviously under your own handle, you don't have to do that. So yeah, for an organization, then you probably would have to set that secret or those things at the organizational level. And you can look up how to do that as well. I didn't really cover the organization in this example just because it's a little bit more complicated. But you could use that in a repo, especially if it's internal. You could set some of those are probably set at the organizational level, whereas at my handle, I have control of that and I can make those changes, which is why our GitHub skills exercises are open source. So people can use them outside of whatever company or organization that they use. They're really for the community. you can use them in an organization as well. Instead of when I copied that GitHub exercise over, I purposely it had my name as a default, but I have other organizations instead of just my handle. I could have selected those as well. But good questions. Thank you. Those are great. Pull this over. So be here twice. So we're good to go here. And we'll publish the branch. I could also use the pull request creator here, but I'll do it in the old fashioned way, which is fine. And I can show you the summary of how I also could have Copilot review it for me. We'll wait for it to generate. I also sometimes depending, I also like to generate the outline because it points to what files were affected. So people who are reviewing it can also see those as well. That's a nice little thing to include in your PR summary. I'm so happy Copilot creates the summaries for us now, so I don't have to think and write everything down myself. And now we have the files that were changed, which will look familiar since they were in our repo. We have our first agentic workflow, which is under the workflows here. We have the lock file. They go hand in hand together once it's compiled. Without the compilation, this would not work. Just the Markdown by itself is not enough. So we need that backend lock file to do that. That GitHub Copilot supports is the AutoGen framework. For the agentic orchestration that GitHub Copilot supports is the AutoGen framework. Is this built to interact with another agentic framework like? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm not familiar with the AutoGen framework. This is agentic workflows and this is a GitHub thing. I don't know if that's something else, but we're focused in on this. So if there's something you can give me more information on, maybe I can answer the question, but I don't really know the AutoGen framework itself. Orchestration that GitHub Copilot. Yeah, I'm not really clear on what that question is. Maybe you could rephrase it and I can help answer that as well. So now we have our conversation. We should be ready to now commit this. Merge pull request. What GitHub Copilot feature do you think is most underrated that most developers don't know about? Oh, it's a good question. What would be the most underrated? I would say using the cloud agent. I find that obviously I'm working in the Copilot CLI. I would say, honestly, the most underrated is the Copilot CLI. If you have not used the Copilot CLI, I highly recommend downloading it and using it for multiple reasons. They add features all the time that are just amazing. It supports auto, just like the same things that you get in the panel here. Like the panel here is great. And I think that's all what we're used to. What is the impact of this to a team working together? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Rubber duck and the CLI, that's new too. Yeah. So let me address. Yeah. So the CLI is, I highly recommend it. And why I like it is, if those who are not seeing, I don't want to make this a session about the CLI. Maybe I'll talk to the Reactor folks and maybe I can come back and just do one on the CLI because there's just so much to go into on that alone. But the ability to work locally and spin up many agent sessions or an orchestration, like set off a fleet of agents. So if you've ever used /fleet in a CLI, the power that you can do with that is amazing to kind of just generate a code. And what I actually did was I created a complete game by just giving it some prompting, and I used the /delegate, or I think I've used /delegate. /fleet is even more powerful, that you have a fleet of agents. And there, maybe you have a orchestrator agent, you have a, and that's actually what we'll get into next week, is more of that fleet of using some agents together, maybe a planning agent or a, you know, implementation agent, and then maybe a testing agent. And what's great about that is too, is when you have an orchestrative agents, is maybe you're using different models for different agents. So that's highly like, example, maybe I like the way Claude Opus 4.7 plans projects better, but I really like GPT 5.4.5.5 for implementation of code because it's very succinct. It gives me exactly what I need. And then maybe I need another model for something else. And that's what we're going to get into actually in this session next week. That's part of this series too. Oh, there you go. There's a developer series there too. I also, if you guys are interested, I will pop this into. I think this actually has. This is a very basic one that I did on the CLI, and I'll be adding another one to that. But I love sharing with folks, so I will share with you guys here. There's this here too, and then there's also the. Let me get. Dan. Trying to find this other great beginner site. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's see. Yeah, it's this one. Perfect. I found it. One of my colleagues, Dan, put this together and just did an absolutely amazing job with it of what you can. And sorry for the delay, but this is cool stuff and I want to share it. This is a great repo to use if you're looking for CLI stuff. We're going to be creating another GitHub skills based off of some of the chapters that Dan did in this. And he did an amazing job of kind of gathering all of this information and putting it in one place. I also probably will do a Reactor series. There's also a playlist too that I put a walkthrough of the CLI too, but I'm getting way off topic. So to review and improve existing. I recommend diving into Copilot. These are questions you can just ask Copilot directly. So I don't want to take up too much time on those kind of general questions. If anyone has something specific to this topic, we can talk about that. I just don't want to, for the sake of time, I don't want to derail this too much. I mean, I get excited too about it, so I can go off the rails myself. So I get it. Yeah, general questions, I would just ask the agent what you want from it, and it will do it. All right, so we added our, we have all of our cool stuff, our agentic workflow in there, but now we want to maybe update that agent. Again, it's a reminder about setting your token. I have that in there too. I think, yeah, do this in the agent. So again, I'm going to go back to the agent here on the agentic workflows agent. I'll start a new session. I always like to clean my context so I don't get what's called context rot. And I'm going to so what I'm doing here, and can I copy? I'm adding another source to my, and it should do it. Yeah, I'm on that branch. Let's go to the file so we can see those. We don't need to do that. That to me feels like a hallucination of sorts. So now it's going to proceed and update our info. Let's see what it did here for us. So now I updated the workflow, the Markdown itself in the front matter here. I added allowed a new source, this awesome Copilot. And now it adds awesome Copilot workflow. And I'm going to share this link. This is why I didn't want to ruin kind of that surprise. Remember I said we'd be adding something or showing you additional. This is a great resource. If you want to learn about everything around agents, Copilot, agent skills, hooks, I can add, let me bring it up here just to show you kind of the power of it. But you can really dive into different areas. That's the workflows one that we added specifically about workflows. But you can get into different agents that exist, custom instructions, agent skills, hooks, workflows, which is what these are, agentic workflows, plugins. There's a lot of stuff. You can really spend your entire life in this website of all the things. It's a lot of people collaborating across Microsoft and GitHub that have created these, and it's become such a useful tool to everyone that want to learn how to do these things. So like for agentic workflows, it has some like very basic ones here. You could just go to the agentic workflow site too, but you could dive into these and then like look at like, here's our front matter, here's our natural language, just like I'm doing. I guess they decided I didn't pick the light theme. I go, oh, we're on light theme. There we go. With yes, anything you can think of, Copilot can do. So I recommend going trying it. So we're going to keep this file. And let's see. I think that's all that I wanted to do. Oh, well, we don't want just that. We got to compile. I almost forgot. And you could also create that with, you could do it with the agent too. But let's do that too. Let's do another compilation. So we'll just copy and paste that compilation. And now it generated a new lock file with the update to our Markdown workflow, agentic workflow. I think that's all we need to do. And then we can commit and do all that kind of cool stuff. And then we'll run the workflow. So let's do that. And then we'll kind of be close to time too, I think. And we'll push that up. I think we pushed it right to the right branch. Yeah, create Mona. So I would have expected to compare here, but that's okay. We can do it manually. I'll select this, create Mona. And there's our diff here and the lock file as well. We'll create our pull request. We'll do a summary. All right, let's create our pull request. So now we've changed all of that. We will merge this. Now we've updated with that new source, the awesome Copilot site that we all love. And now I'm going to go and actually run this action. You could run it from the CLI if you want to. You could have Copilot execute it. Again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to do it and run it the old-fashioned way right here in the GUI. It also kind of, I like it because it kind of shows the visualization of it too. And that's actually what I've included with some screenshots here. And then we can just run this on demand. Again, it can be run, it'll run on a schedule, or it can be run on demand. That's what we specified in natural language when we asked about it. So it's going to do that activation. The agent's going to do some stuff. This takes about, it's also why I wanted to give it some time. It takes about a couple minutes, the agent part of this workflow, the detection, safe outputs, and then conclusion. And then at the end of it, what we should have, if this runs successfully, is a pull request waiting for us with this update and new information. And then we can decide if we want to merge that and update our site. Yeah, thank you. And let's see. So I will put this back in here again. I will be probably making tweaks and updates and maybe making even more tasks to this to make it even more cool to use. But I think this is a good introduction to intermediate level of using agentic workflows. It shows what's possible. There is great documentation too in the review section here, which links to the agentic workflows and all of that. If not, I will update that as well. But definitely check this out. And let's see, we're good here. Actually, I'm going to bring down what's on main. Awesome. And I just want to make sure that it had our changes absorbed. There it is. Awesome Copilot. Okay, great. Very good. Very good. Very good. All right, let's go back. We are still running in the agent phase. Like I said, it takes a couple minutes. Any other questions while we wait? And yes, PR0 web dev, you can use Copilot to do that if you're going to ask me that question. It won't wash your car, take your kids to school, but it'll do most everything else. So you can start with whatever's on your mind, or creating as a solo developer, creating your website. Let's see, we're about a minute. So it should be done in like a matter of seconds now. It's usually a little over 2 minutes it takes to run. And if you want to look through what it's doing, this is really the magic behind the agent. It's getting the articles, it's going through. So instead of you doing an RSS feed or, updating the website yourself, this is a great way to have the AI work for you, and do the updates, and then give you a nice presentation of, hey, here's what I recommend from what I've seen in GitHub's blog lately, or the change log, or maybe Awesome Copilot has some new things on workflows. These are the examples of those, to prompt it so that it do the work without creating bugs. My always answer when someone asks me that is Copilot, agents, all of it, any AI, trust but verify. It will never have, that's why humans are still important, because we are reviewing, and while the AI gives you a lot of great stuff to get you there faster, you always have to verify it. We're not at the point now, at least from my experience, where we can just say, let it run wild. Now, sure, there's certain subtle tasks that are benign. Like in this environment, we create a pull request, we can throw it away, right? It's not going to hurt anything. But you're still, as a human, before you merge that, are going to verify that pull request. And that's what's most important. I think it's in the detection part, so this should be pretty quick. Let's see, summary. Yeah, we're at the safe outputs now. And if we come, the magic that will come will be that we will have a pull request with the changes to our website, is the big finale, as we have less than a minute left. And boom, it finished. It's in draft mode like we asked it to. We could have Copilot review this, and we see that it added a bunch of stuff, agentic workflows with GitHub Copilot from Awesome Copilot, and added that to our Markdown for our website. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys' questions. Great questions. Play around with this, use it. Added stuff from the blog, added stuff from the changelog, the last on the last dates here, May 6th, May 7th. And then this automatically, we can merge this and this will be part of our website with a new update. So as you can see, I didn't have to go out to those sources or go look through them. I'm able to update my website is already ready for me. I described this CI/CD automation in natural language to create it. And that's really the beauty and the magic behind agentic workflows. So please go out there, use it, take the skills exercise for a spin. I definitely have some bugs or things to tweak or work out there, but that's to be, said is I always like to iterate on everything I do anyway. I'm sure you guys do as well, but thank you so much for the time and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one.